Yadav ji, Honorable Union Cabinet Minister of Labour and Employment, Environment, Forest and Climate Change. He's accompanied by our guests of honor. I request everyone to kindly rise for the National Anthem. Good morning and namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Chandigarh University, I extend the heartiest welcome to our chief guest for the day, Honorable Shri Bhupender Yadav ji, Union Cabinet Minister of Labour and Employment, Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Our guests of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Wilson, Judge Supreme Court of Hawaii, Honorable Mr. Justice Augustine George Massey, Judge High Court of Punjab and Haryana, Justice Swatantra Kumar, former Judge Supreme Court of India, former Chairperson National Green Tribunal, His Excellencies from Republic of Ghana, Gambia, Uruguay, Costa Rica and Cuba, Chancellor Chandigarh University Satnam Singh Sandhuji, all the eminent jurists, esteemed guests, distinguished delegates, faculty members and their students. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us today in this two-day International Conference Valedictory Ceremony on Environmental Diversity and Environmental Jurisprudence, National and International Perspective, organized by University Institute of Legal Studies, Chandigarh University. Your presence, everyone, has added a great value to this conference. Thank you very much for being here. The international conference was inaugurated yesterday by Honorable Vice President of India, Shri M. Venkaiah Naidu ji, in the presence of Honorable Governor of Punjab and Administrator UT Chandigarh, Shri Banwari Lal Purohit ji, and other eminent guests. The conference has witnessed presence of a large number of dignitaries, including judges from India and overseas, and members of academia as speakers and delegates, along with the participants from all over the country, including students. The conference emphasized on understanding and analyzing the potential threats faced by biodiversity and to attain environmental justice through sound regulatory mechanisms. This year's theme, ladies and gentlemen, has focused on the sustainable use of biodiversity to assist nations' growth while maintaining ecosystem wellness and environmental justice. We'd like to present here a short video for all of you in the same context.
It is our honor and privilege to welcome eminent national and international dignitaries at the International Law Conference. We all have gathered here for the third edition of International Conference on the theme Environmental Diversity and Environmental Jurisprudence, National and International Perspective. The 2 days international conference will explore recent advances and set a path for the sustainable use of biodiversity and attain environmental justice through sound regulatory mechanisms. Going beyond our roles as academicians, Chandigarh University has been playing a cardinal role in nation building and building the leaders of tomorrow. with a vision of becoming a global center of excellence for research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We have made remarkable achievements, winning the most prestigious awards and rankings. We made the best debut in the QS Asia Rankings 2022, featuring in the top 1.7% of all Asian universities, scoring the highest in perception rankings amongst all Indian institutes. Working towards the vision of making India a Vishwaguru, Chandigarh University brought together 126 nations in the first of its kind diplomatic conclave to further the ethos of internationalization of higher education. Foraying into the world of space research, Chandigarh University set up the first ground station in the region for space research and training.
और मित्रों, आज जिस स्पेस रिसर्च सेंटर का उद्घाटन हो रहा है वह न केवल चंडीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा माइलस्टोन है, बल्कि हमारे देश के स्पेस सेक्टर के लिए ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है और इसकी एक विशेष अहमियत भी है.
We are set to launch the first IoT-based nanosatellite QSat in collaboration with ISRO. Recognizing the drone industry as the next game changer in development, we have established Punjab's first DGCA-approved drone training hub in our campus. As a leading institution in implementing the national education policy, we are playing a crucial role in structuring the educational landscape of India and also mentoring many peer institutions. Having the highest number of international collaborations in India with top-ranked universities across the globe, we ensure the best global exposure to our students. Our students have made the entire country proud with their exceptional achievements in sports and culture. Besides doing great at studies, they have made their mark in all aspects of their interests and passion. Committed to giving back to society, we have established NID Foundation and Chandigarh Welfare Trust. Both the organizations are working relentlessly in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to build a sustainable future for all. The Chandigarh Welfare Trust has remained at the forefront to ensure welfare of community and provide succor to those in need during the difficult times arising out of COVID-19 pandemic. Furthering a commitment to nation building, NID Foundation organized Sadbhavna program in the esteemed presence of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji.
NID फाउंडेशन के मुख्य संरक्षक एवं चंडीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी के चांसलर, मेरे मित्र श्री सतनाम सिंह संधू जी, NID फाउंडेशन के सभी सदस्यगण, हमारे भारतीय डायस्पोरा को तो मैं हमेशा भारत का राष्ट्रदूत मानता रहा हूं.
The event brought together more than 150 distinguished members of global Sikh community. And today, we welcome again the esteemed dignitaries from India and abroad at this international conference to deliberate on the theme of environmental diversity and environmental jurisprudence. We welcome you all.
Thank you for the video. Brian Herbert said, and I quote, "The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is, of course, a choice." Ladies and gentlemen, to taking the ceremony forward, I'll now invite Justice Swatantra Kumar, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and former Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, to kindly deliver the welcome address. Let's hear it for Justice Kumar.
Good afternoon to all on the dais and off the dais. I do take an apology for not referring to all the people by name, because we would like to maintain the schedule provided under the brochure to us. Honorable the Chief Guest, Shri Bhupender Yadav, Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and Minister of Labor and Employment. He is a person of great political acumen, impeccable administration, and perhaps the most importantly, he is connected with the common man. I think the crux of his personality lies in the factor that the two most important aspects of our heritage, culture, and present country affair, that is the environment and the labor, they have been combined in one hand to you, shows how responsibility and how a heavy responsibility you carry for the benefit of the country and the common man. His activity after taking over as the Minister for Environment at the national and the international level has been commendable. With your inside in the country and outside, whether it be domestically or internationally, setting up such as COP26 Glasgow shows one of your achievements. I welcome you, Honorable Minister, to this international conference and the valedictory session today. Judiciary is like a tree of people, what the Honorable Governor referred yesterday. It's an institution with tough roots, solid stem, and wide-ranged arms and branches. I can assure all the august gathering here that Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul is one of the strongest branch of the Indian people judicial tree, which he has protected for all the time till today and would continue. I had the privilege of seeing him as a lawyer, as a judge, as a Chief Justice, and now at the highest court of our country. Believe me or not, he has that confidence of self-belief, self-determination, because he always tilts in favor of the justice and not the non-justice. It's a very difficult job to do today. And as we can see that he is as tall physically as tall he is in his judicial functioning and performance. I welcome you, Justice Sanjay Kaul, in this gathering. You have really been very kind to come before us. Then I would take the liberty of addressing Justice Massey and Michael Wilson together, because both of them at least have M appearing in their names. So it is that he comes from Hawaii and he comes from the city beautiful. Very close to the thumb hand impression of Chandigarh, Justice Massey dispenses justice from the court. And if I don't mistake, you continue to be with the chief or holding your own bench, I think, but your own bench, right? So he is a person who is always smiling. I too had the privilege of seeing him as a lawyer when I was here. but he is another person who always has the courage to do what justice demands, and he does most of the firm things with a smile on his face. And Michael is equally true. Of course, he smiles more when he sees ladies, but at the same time, I think both of them are fabulous human beings and great judges. I welcome both of you to this valedictory session, please. I have the duty, and I'll try to be as precise as possible, but one must do for what one job is. And I do see great diplomats sitting in the front row, and our colleagues, former and present judges of the High Court. We see the vice chancellors, academicians, so everybody, without exception, I emphasize the word without exception, I welcome to you to this valedictory session. If I missed anybody, with folded hands, I ask for forgiveness. Now, yesterday I just mentioned, we had the inaugural session where Honorable the Vice President of India was the chief guest with Governor and two eminent judges of the Supreme Court. I would just quote two things from the speech of the Vice President as to what message he had to give for us to think over and ponder over in these. Firstly, he said, which was great, inculcate ethics and cultivate love and respect for nature. Then he went to said, environmental tension would give you capacity to have no attention, and which will give you ultimately retention. In 3 words, he compacted the whole global environmental jurisprudence, and I really compliment his wisdom that he could make it so well and convey it. And our Honorable Governor, while referring to the people tree, which I just mentioned, he conveyed the message of intergenerational equity by saying that you have to have, and he refers to the scripture of India, will inculcate a spirit of dimension to protection of environment. His message was clear, unmingled with any imaginative things. Then, we had the various kind of, speakers in different, which have speakers from abroad. As I told you earlier, there were nearly 20 countries and 20 eminent people participating, judges of the Supreme Court, professors in the universities, and others who participated. I will be only touching upon their one point out of the entire technical sessions that have been held. But I would, before that, refer to that what is our real problem? Problem in life for 2 reasons. One, we act without thinking. Second, we keep thinking without acting. So if you look at this is universally applicable to environment. On environment, people give knee-jerk reactions. The planning, the implementation, the enforcement is an issue across the globe. And I'm sure all the foreign dignitaries with us would be able to support that view. And if you want to be successful in any field, person in life, if you follow the advice that you give to others, that means a collective cooperation for environmental protection. In the climate change, the emphasis was laid on policy framing law, because policy without law is a waste. Everything does not require money, require only unity. Policy has to be tried twice, only when then it should be implemented and regulated. Discussion, importance of collective consciousness and community participation in alleviating the issues of air pollution. Energy consumption is directly proportional to the increase in the air pollution. Indiscriminately, approach between policy and development with regard to air pollution and other factors. English National Climate Change Commission at the national level and state level, integrated system of handling all concerns relating to government. Role of judiciary to fill up gaps in legislative action, policies, and statutes. Discussed the 17 Sustainable Development Goals laid by the UN. GDP-driven economy cannot contribute to the sustainable development as there are hindrances by capitalist approach, take, make, and waste. Affordable and renewable energy and its utilization without causing any pollution. The talked about Paris Agreement 203, its future, its implementation. The judges from abroad laid emphasis on, talked about the role of government and corporate accountability for reducing the emissions. These were the few of the points which were discussed. If I have to really tell you what happened in every technical session, maybe we'll have to have dinner here, which I think none of us, either on the bench or on the audience, can afford. I would just say few words. Please kindly remember what Father of the Nation said. He was, to say so, not considered a great environmentalist, but the three principles he stated are today globally accepted and they are statutory, incorporated into Indian law. That was the vision of Gandhiji. We need to protect the environment by any standards because, ladies and gentlemen, we need nature. Nature doesn't need us. You need air to breathe. Air doesn't need you. So therefore, every generation should do everything to protect nature and make sure that we don't make the planet worse than what it is with us today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Justice Kumar, for quickly recalling the precious and valuable messages delivered by the chief guests and guests of honor yesterday in the inauguration ceremony. It's a pleasure to have Mr. Justice Michael Wilson, Judge, Supreme Court of Hawaii, on the dais. Please join me in inviting Justice Wilson to share his thoughts with the August gathering. A huge round of applause.
Aloha. This is what we say in Hawaii, aloha, which is namaste in India. And we have a partnership that was formed over 10 years ago in Hawaii with India. And I can't explain the depths of the importance of this relationship to our state, which is a state like the Maldives, and it's a state like Kiribati. It's a state that is going to drown, and is therefore in a very similar circumstance than the circumstance of so many people in this audience who have been addressed by phenomenal leaders of India today. You, the students and the faculty that have had the opportunity to be addressed, and we in Hawaii, our court of 5 justices, our state of 1.4 million people, about the number of lawyers that there are in India. So in making my remarks, I do want to honor and address Minister Yadav. It's an honor to be on the dais with you. Justice Kumar, who is a well-known figure now in Hawaii, in some ways the father of our environmental court. As you know, he is the legendary leader of the Green Tribunal, the most powerful environmental court in the world. And he, along with the justices of your court, have come to Hawaii to aid us with our environmental court and our environmental challenges. Justice Midrill, it's a pleasure to be on the dais with you, and Justice Masi. as well as Justice Call, who I had the honor of sitting next to already. Let me ask this audience, if you're a student, perhaps you could just raise your hand. Fantastic. Because addressing an audience that is young gives us hope in Hawaii. Why is that? Because we're all here. This moment is shaped by a destiny that right now is a destiny that can be characterized as an emergency, an existential threat, a future that is not the future that you're entitled to, the greatest intergenerational injustice of all time. And it's a future that can be changed, I would submit, because of the leadership in this room. Chandigarh is an amazing university, led by some extraordinary people. Think about this conference. I mean, in India, every time I go to a place in India, it's a little bit overwhelming because in Hawaii, you know, the audiences are small. But when I think about this, it's worth reflecting about it in the global sense. What Justice Kumar has accomplished here, what Jindal has accomplished here, gives me what we call chicken skin, because this emergency you're facing requires the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nepal, Justice Ananda Mohan, has made this point. We need collaboration. We need to come together now because of the need to address this emergency. Specifically, as the Justice Gavai of the Supreme Court of India has said, we're supposed to cut emissions of greenhouse gas emissions 50% within 10 years. We're supposed to go carbon neutral, where the Earth is not producing any more carbon than it absorbs in, what, by the end of the century, 50 years or so? This is a remarkable transformational need that has to happen in the context of the Paris Agreement, the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, the United Nations Convention on Biodiversity. In the context of all these instruments of power and promise, it hasn't worked. So that brings me to the, as I say, you know, great leaders that I have an opportunity to be inspired by, the Supreme Court of India, but your Vice President. Vice President Naidu made the point. Yes, these institutions aren't working. And yes, he made the point of Barack Obama that he made at the COP in Glasgow in November, just a couple months ago. And that is, if you, and I'm talking to these magnificent students here who I think of as young Gandhis, if you will, that are going to help the world. But if you consider their message, it is, right now, our institutions are not getting there. What we need is transformational change, and that depends on a movement. This is what the Vice President of India said. It's time for a movement to come together, civil society, young people, and there can't be a place on earth where there is more of a fertile ground for leaders, powerful leaders in here, in Chandigarh, led by the leaders of India, because you need to help us in Hawaii. We're the most remote landmass on earth, very small, and we are drowning. So we look to that kind of leadership. Well, the themes of this conference need to streak throughout the world. What are the themes? You have the leadership of the strongest, I would submit, and I'm fortunate, I'm a member of the Global Judicial Institute, which is an institution not formed too long ago of judges that are inclined to understand the emergency that the environment's facing and come together and use the rule of law to address those issues. It started by one of the great justices that we have also in the world right now from Brazil, the lungs of the world, Justice Antonio Benjamin. And it's a collective that represents, again, this very important message that needs to streak throughout the world that Justice Swatantra Kumar has started and Chandigarh has started. And that message is, we have got to be able to implement solutions that are collaborative and solutions that require more of these meetings. Where on earth are you seeing this collection where you have the judges and the justices come together from around the world to meet with one of the world's leading institutions? You would think it's happening all the time in the context of the emergency that says the rule of law in 40 or 50 years may deteriorate to the point where it's not that operative. Your lives in 40 or 50 years are facing a 1.5 degree problem that Professor Christina Voigt, who's the chair of the World Commission on Environmental Law, has said the same thing that Justice Ratan Singh just said a few minutes ago. It's a survival issue. You're facing survival, and the survival that you're going to look at is right there. So it's 40, 50 years from now. So this kind of collective is something that the world needs and needs to repeat over and over again. Whether you're talking about the major institutions of the country that right now in many ways is an impediment to the advancement of the environmental rule of law, my country, some aspects of my country, or you're talking about small places that need to be inspired, like, you know, your brothers and sisters in places like the Maldives, or brothers and sisters that are the environmental defenders that are sacrificing their life in Latin America. Every time there's a conference like this that brings together powerful young people that are going to do what the Vice President of India said, which is to be a movement and make a difference. Every time there's a conference like this, it gives the world hope. So you can see I have hope, and I am grateful to be here. Thank you, Chandigarh University and Justice Kumar. Of course, you're more than my brother, you're my father, and we have a very special bond that I could go into in more detail, but I am grateful to be here. Aloha, namaste, and let's continue to work together, especially during this emergency, understanding that as the father of this country, Gandhi, said, a small group of determined spirits of unquenchable faith can change the course of history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Justice Wilson, for your words and a strong reminder that it's indeed time for the movement and we need to join hands. I will now request Mr. Justice Augustine George Massey, Judge, High Court of Punjab and Haryana, to kindly come forward and deliver his address. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Justice Massey.
Good morning. I would have said good morning, but it's said here that whenever you meet first, for the first time, you say good morning, because it's a new morning for you when you start with that. But I would not say this for the simple reason that the conference where we have come together to, it's not the stage of a beginning. It's a stage where we are looking at a situation where virtually, as my friend has just spoken, some areas are likely to go down, which would virtually be extinct, not available anymore for the humans to, or maybe other plants also to a great extent. Well, I would like to only emphasize upon an aspect which we had always been ignoring and giving only precedent to one species over the other species, and that's the human race, the human species. Are we really looking at controlling this species. Because in my view, it is the population of this species, one species, which is not only, I would say, greedy, but one which will not care for anyone else except for itself. So we are all responsible for that. And when we are responsible for that, it is now your and our responsibility that we take drastic steps. The drastic steps are changing the way we look at things, changing the way we think, and above all, changing the way we are, which I know is difficult because it is now imbibed in us, the greed, not only for having what we have, but over and above that. Therefore, I would only suggest one thing. Let us bring in contentment. Let us bring in satisfaction. Let us bring in the change of being satisfied with what we have and we require. That's all. We go in for mining, but are we looking forward to replenishing it, taking care of that area where we have left? We want energy. For that, we are exploiting the natural resources without caring for the pollution aspect. The environment is totally ignored by us. Who is to be blamed for that? It's we alone who are to be blamed. There are laws. I don't think there are any more requirement of any laws. But where do we lack? It's the implementation aspect which we lack upon. One blaming the other for that. But unless it becomes a movement, I don't think anything is going to change. It is now high time that we start thinking in changing the way we look at things, in changing the way we have been earlier, looking towards the environment, the nature. We had exploited it, and it is now that after being battered, it is reacting. When you know that it is reacting, it is high time that we also take action. Are we really ready for that? I have my doubts. For the simple reason that our day-to-day works, needs are growing by the time. And I would not blame the people for that. We'll have the ads which say, Dil Mange More. You have all materialistic things available, the commercialization, the advertisements which we get. That's where our thought process actually is contaminated. We need to go back to the nature. Start thinking about it. Well, as my predecessor has said, fortunately, we have a young population, and therefore, all hopes are from them. Because we have failed. We seniors have failed. It is now up to you to take steps. Where we have failed, you need to start and move from there. And therefore, I'm throwing this challenge from here to you all, the young ones. Take it up and fight it out. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Justice Augustine, for your words of wisdom. And I'm sure you have got us in retrospection mode, and we'll try to think over it for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to invite Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge, Supreme Court of India, to deliver the presidential address. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Justice Kaul.
Very good afternoon to Shri Bhupender Yadav ji, Justice Michael Wilson, Justice Swatantra Kumar, my elder in the judiciary and in the bar, Justice Augustine Masi, Justice Satnam Singh Sandhu, the organizers of this event, and to everyone here. What a beautiful campus. Look at the greens around you. Look at the infrastructure which has been created. All this hardware is here. The software is you students and the professors who will guide you. Like you need both software and hardware to work together. Similarly, on an environmental issue, development and environment have to go hand in hand. Countries have to go hand in hand. In this huge universe, our Earth is a small speck. It's a very important speck for us. It's a speck on which there are millions of species living. Somehow we feel this earth is meant only for us. That's the fundamental problem. Strong animals kill the weaker animals for food. We kill for the fun of it. We not only kill the other species, we kill people of the same species. We are seeing this around. That's a matter of concern. Personally speaking, I thought that this 2 years of difficult COVID times should have taught the human race the importance of living in symphony, in sympathy with other beings, being less selfish. I think I am being proved wrong. My thought process is wrong because something different is going around the world. And we are facing a more self-centered species. So it's a matter of introspection, it's a matter of thought, how we can walk hand in hand, because unless we leave at least a better earth than what it is today in the next 15 years, we owe a lot of apology to the large number of people who are sitting here. Late Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi once mused, what we are doing to the forest, to the world, is but a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and to one another. In this global environmental puzzle, which has grown increasingly complex and momentous in the flip side of this current 21st century, India plays an important role. It plays an important role because with 2.4% of the world's land, India houses close to 20% of the world's population, something which Brother Messi mentioned. It has 8% of all the recorded species. A big segment of Indian populace, flora, fauna, hinge on the climate sensitivity. Sectors like agriculture and forestry for the livelihood. You just heard the existential issue which Justice Wells mentioned in a beautiful place called Hawaii. Place I had an opportunity to visit as a child, not after that, but I remember it extremely well. I would like to emphasize to the importance of the changes which are taking place, of temperature change. You see it every day. We are seeing it in the current scene today of how the summer has hit us. And you are lucky in Chandigarh where your levels of pollution are still within the zone of green. I come from a city where it is cross red many times back. A glance through the ancient Indian history will show us that the movers and shakers of our ancient communities were conscious of this environmental protection and enabled the same through punitive legal provisions, which also regulating people's habits and behaviors. Many ancient texts like the Veds, the Upanishads, the epics and the Purans are a reflection of that. The most cherished discourse of politics in ancient India, as early during the 3rd century BC by Kautilya, entitled the Arthashastras, elucidated the provisions meant to regulate the people's activities in a number of environmental related aspects. But then law must be followed. Law for the sake of existence is not important. And somewhere I think we have started getting into a habit of enjoying how to beat the law rather than follow the law. Maybe many reasons for it. In the modern times, we are witness the emergence of the environmental jurisprudence and the legal provisions since the 19th century. In the British philosopher Andrew Dobson, in his book Justice and Environment, discussed the significance of creating balance between distributive justice and environmental sustainability. He emphasized that the environmentalism should be considered as a distinct political ideology, and many countries have the green movements. And thus he entreated appropriate legislations for green change. The Industrial Revolution and the impact of its activities on the natural resources and the environment encouraged and developed the developing nations to establish an arena on environmental laws. But we are past that stage of creating laws alone. We have a problem of an existential threat, which I think we are somewhere not adept at handling at present. And often the problem arises because countries blame each other for it. The more developed countries will say, well, you, the less developed ones are who are creating the pollution. The less developed countries will tell them, look, you did this so many years ago and I have reached this stage only by polluting, and now you don't want to pay for what you did. But within this battle, what is occurring is that each is throwing the burden on the other without acknowledging that if we have to coexist, and I don't think so far we have found another planet where we can go and habitate ourselves, then something must be done to walk hand in hand rather than destroy each other. The Declaration of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment, or commonly known as the Stockholm Declaration, was the modern world's gateway towards environment. Question is, how much have we walked since then? Or we just keep walking back and forth? Over the time, the courts, both globally and locally, have also engaged with diverse range of environmental issues with various frequency of cases. And Justice Sundar Kumar presided over the tribunal in the context of India, an extremely important tribunal. But often the executive thinks that these interludes by the judiciary impede the development process. That's why I kept on saying the significance of the balance between the two. You need development for upgradation of the human species and the country, but if there is no environment, there will be no development in the longer term perspective. Substantive innovations encompass decisions which the courts create, and the scientists and the larger fields help us in this. The role of the judiciary in this expanding ambit of the Fawcett Green Constitution evolved through the golden age of these environmental litigations. I would not like to say and repeat the cases which has been done, but from issues which were mentioned like quarrying. Can you stop quarrying completely? No, you need it for development. But then when you keep on cheating on what you have been licensed to do, a stage comes when a blanket ban is imposed. And then the problem is of the employment generation it does, problem is of development work it does. So the fundamental problem which arises is we don't adhere to the norms or laws. One issue I do believe we have is sometimes the unrealistic laws. So a lot of thought has to be given to how law is evolved, law does so. There must be study of the law and not rushed in hurry. But simultaneously, there's also an issue that once the law is made and thought process law made, then people must learn to follow it. The whole concept of jugaad cannot go beyond a stage. You can't have jugaad in everything. You can't do something by breaking the law and say, look, this is how we are adept at it. So creation of law, a better law, and implementation of the law both carry an important significance. The last almost 40 years has seen a growing environmental risk, with their assessment and management becoming more and more complex. Despite inundation of various kinds of law in the judgments of this court, of the apex court, of the tribunals, some way we have been lacking. And our earth and its resources are a common heritage for mankind, and thus the issue relating to environment are best maneuvered with participation from all stakeholders of the community, be it information awareness, accessibility of communities, or their ability to participate in the decision-making process. Unfortunately, we're going through times where generally I think we tend to take extreme postures in everything. Instead of, it's almost saying that my way or highway. And this is the problem with the planners, with critics, both. But the passage somewhere lies in between. The midway path is what has sustained the world. It has sustained the economic development of the world. It has sustained the politics of the world. But if extreme posturing is taken, then I think we are in for a troublesome time. To quote Laurie Newark, a retired chief environmental court judge from New Zealand, high on the list of the best practices is proactive case management and flexibility. It is of considerable benefit to the court that our authorizing act provides for the court to regulate its own procedures and without procedural formality, also to receive anything in evidence is considered appropriate. So the court is not tied to prescriptive legislation, acts of parliament and regulation. Does it mean there should be no law? No. The law should be there, but the environmental implementation of law is of a different kind. It cannot be the civil procedure code aspect which will have to govern. And innovativeness in this legal process is a necessity. Many places have suggested specialist courts. But then sometimes I find the specialist courts must be managed by specialists. Merely because you have been a judge, merely because you have been a bureaucrat, is not necessary you will understand the contours of that jurisdiction. When we create specialized tribunal, and I may say on a larger conspectus because Sriya is also there, other than even environment, let's not use it as a rehabilitation of judges and rehabilitation of bureaucrats. It should be a place where people who are specialists, dedicated, committed, and having expertise in the field would govern how it's to be done. And I think the environment courts is one of the areas where the need is more so now. As per the Environmental Performance Index prepared by the Yale University in the year 2010, India's performance dropped from 155 to 168 as of 2020. Is it not a matter of concern for us? Yes, some countries are doing better. Denmark ranking is number 1, but some of these countries are small, and as Mercy said, the population is less of a problem. The population has a dual effect. A young population is a dynamic population for development for many things, but an uncontrolled population is a problem. Maybe we're slowly reaching a stage where this may not be such a huge problem in the past, but the past has created this problem which we are facing at present, and we have to deal with it. I believe the need of the hour in environmental jurisprudence, especially in countries like India, is to encourage an alternative dispute resolution process, including mediations, conciliations, and neutral evaluation as method. I am a great votary of mediation for many years. I believe whether in personal litigations or environmental litigations, a settlement is the best way forward because you are able to walk together instead of only treating each other as antagonistic forces. And this is the time to walk hand in hand in all these aspects. On many occasions, the lack of technical experts on the bench, which is an aspect I was mentioning, finds the court in a tight spot while dealing with complex and technical environmental issues. Thus, the brain talent which is available in our country and all over the world and commitment of people to environment must be utilized to man these institutions for a further and better progress. I would like to emphasize the fact which I think most of us agree on, which is sustainable development is the most abused concept in international environmental law. Environmental diversities are being torn down to give economic advancement at cost of ecological securities. As Professor Week puts it, conservation, however, always takes a backseat in times of economic stress. And the 2 years the world has gone through an economic stress. So some part is a ramification of what we have seen. With the national capital in other parts of India, along with the rest of the world, experiencing such record-breaking temperature and so many natural phenomena not palatable. That's a matter of concern. Unless we learn to live with the environment, I think the environment hits back. So nature hits back. We as a human species seem to be at war with nature rather than in tandem with it. And when nature reacts, it's merciless. We've seen it across the world, not only on COVID, on many events which happen, the hurricanes which hit, the other aspect. These are all unsettling of the earth which is taking place. And the earth is reacting to it. So when we say, oh, we have a monkey menace or we have a tiger menace, well, you have gone into their habitats. Where will they go? So they come and attack you and then you say we must destroy them. So the human race is the one which seems to be the most insensitive to the requirement of the earth because the Almighty is kind to give us a little more brains than the others. But somehow that brain is not being utilized for the purpose for which everybody can live together in harmony. It's often with cruel irony that the nations of the developed world, which I said, criticize the rising emission of the developing nations. Many of them, they are former colonies, while passing the buck to them and pushed to conform to demands, despite having centuries-long history of polluting and pillaging in the name of progress. And then it is said, accepting the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities has to be emphasized. You did this yesterday, you'll have to pay for it today. We have to do some things, you have to make us pay less because we didn't do it yesterday. You can't wash up the past and say, you begin from now on. The developing countries see this as a way of to gain recognition for their development needs and their reduced ability to contribute to the management of environment problems. The developed countries consider it a tool to ensure participation of developing countries into this aspect. This is the sole principle of what we had said today in the Paris Agreement. Now, some people have to accept, as in a society, the more affluent accept a larger part of the society. You tax them more. The lesser society is taxed less, sometimes give things given free. Same applies to the world as a whole. And whatever the past, though, it is at least a duty now for the future for everybody to work together. Perhaps what is most unique in the environmental jurisprudence is encompasses every civil living organism under examination and not just the human denizens of this blue rock. David Attenborough very rightly said, it's a range of biodiversity that we must care for, the whole thing rather than just one or two stars. It is well established fact that the advent of industrialization and increasing globalized world has been a double-edged sword. As was said, the needs have given rise to the greeds. It's part of development process. The burning of the Amazon rainforest are concern for the entire planet, not just for the citizens of Brazil. The environmental cost of every bomb dropped in every single war, and we are witnessing, which has added to the carbon footprints of this planet, has brought the whole thing to a tipping point. However, while this unchecked progress has led us closer to our doom, it has also entrusted us with technology and knowledge to our very own salvation. We have been saved almost this planet from the ozone hole that we created. If the global financial system and the society have provided us with all these achievements at the cost of our very own breath and health, it is just not a matter of duty as humans, but an obligation as fellow living beings to provide enforceable checks and balances on the reckless use of the Earth's fragile ecosystem, and not, ironically, be the cause for its very extinction, despite being the most brainy species, as is so called. On the lighter note, I would like to end with the quote of Henry David Thoreau, an American neutralist poet and philosopher. What is the use of a house if you haven't got the tolerable planet to put it on? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Kaul, for such a relevant message and advice. Let's not beat the laws, let's try to follow them. Without much ado, I would now take this privilege to invite the chief guest of the valedictory ceremony of this international conference, Shri Bhupender Yadav ji, Honorable Union Cabinet Minister of Labour and Employment, Environment, Forest and Climate Change.
Honorable Justice Shri Sanjay Kaul ji, Honorable Justice Shri Swatantra Kumar ji, Honorable Justice Michael Wilson, Excellency Judge from Hawaii, Honorable Justice Mr. Augustine Masihe, ladies and gentlemen, and my young brother and sisters. It is my pleasure to address all of you at the valedictory session of this international conference. For the times we live in, the topic couldn't have been more relevant. Environment diversity and environmental jurisprudence is a theme that concerns whole of humanity. As we all know, environmental diversity is a concept of species composition between areas correlated with differences in environmental condition. This is potentially significant for conservation planning. India has some of the world's most diverse ecozone. We are having a desert, high mountains, highlands, tropical and temperature forest, plains, grasslands. We are blessed with simply one of the most unique biodiversity. As the world gears up to gather at Stockholm in next 3 weeks, I take pride in sharing the fact that India has been at the forefront in implementing its international commitment, which taken up in Stockholm Conference in 1972. Following the Stockholm Conference in 1972, the Water Act of 1974 and the Air Act of 1981 were enacted. We are currently implementing the National Clean Air Plan, which aims to clean up India's air through a range of intervention from the local to the global. In pursuance of our commitment under the Rio Declaration 1992, India has a reversed environmental impact assessment process. We are today among the few countries in the world to implement the Convention of Biological Diversity in letter and spirit. We have operationalized the access and benefit sharing under the Niyoga Protocol And I am firmly believe that effective decision-making power with regard to biodiversity should lie with the local community. As a result, 275,000 biodiversity management committees are today functional in India in every village and local body. This task was achieved under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in the last 5 years, when the government undertook the task of democratizing biodiversity conservation. It is a matter of pride that every local body has an elected body to manage and document its biodiversity in form of People's Biodiversity Register, where our idea to providing dignified life to the most vulnerable section of our society takes a central stage. Friends, our biodiversity, as that of the world today, is the most threatened by climate change. Combating climate change is thus the most important task ahead of the mankind. I am proud to tell you, dear friends, that at COP26 in Glasgow, India's ambitious announcement of Panchamrit, particularly of reaching its non-fossil fuel energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030, further proves our significant contribution toward achieving the temperature goals of Paris Agreement. This achievement assumes greater significance when we realize that India's environmental law and policy is not only about protection and conservation, it is also about equity and justice. Environment justice is founded on the belief that the disproportionate burden for protection of environment should not fall on the shoulders of those who are not responsible for the problem. There can be no environmental justice and equity if the people most affected by environmental protection measures are those not responsible for it. These operates both globally and locally. India's per capita carbon emission is among the lowest in the world, and therefore the Western industrialized nation should shoulder of the financial burden for combating climate change. At Paris, under the eminent leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, India gave the concept of sustainable lifestyle and climate justice, both of which found a place in the preamble of Paris Agreement. The latest IPCC Working Group third report further justifies India's emphasis on equity at all scale in climate action and sustainable development. The report mentioned, and I quoted, equity remains a central element in UN climate regime, notwithstanding shift in differentiation between state over time and challenging in assessing fair shares. This, my dear friends, solidifies India's position that equity is fundamental to international cooperation on any given subject, climate change in this case. Further, I would like to mention that we cannot shut ourselves to the fact that India has the world's largest number of forest-dependent communities. Their livelihood, culture, and very existence depend on access to forest. In our zeal to protect forest, we cannot overlook the existence of such large number of forest-dwelling communities. It is for this reason the Western ideas of conservation, which exclude local people, can have serious ramifications on the right of forest-dependent communities. Similarly, our coastal areas provide livelihood to the largest fisherfolk communities in the world, whose very existence is dependent on the integrity of coastal areas. Therefore, even though it is important to focus on building climate resilience infrastructure in coastal area, it is equally important to ensure that no adverse impact is caused to those whose livelihood depend on the coast. Over the year, there have been waves of environmental litigation which has become detrimental to the development. The society shall have to prosper, but not at the cost of environment, and similarly, the environment shall have to be protected, but not at the cost of development. The need of the hour is to strike a balance between the two, that is development on one side and pollution-free environment on the other. Government of India has come up with comprehensive policies having holistic approach toward our fauna. For example, we have started Project Dolphin Project Lion, Project Elephant, and the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which as an apex body has been doing commendable job in increasing the population of the same, a process by which development can be sustained for generation by improving the quality of human life while at the same time living in harmony with nature and maintaining the carrying capacity of life-supporting ecosystem, the Eastern philosophy of living. It focuses at integration of developmental and environmental imperatives. Thus, sustainable development is the only answer through administrative action. Laws are necessary to ensure we stay the course. Environmental law, despite its development in recent time, it is still in its infancy. The concept of liability needs to be developed both at national and international level. Environmental jurisprudence is still focused on punishing the polluter or the poacher at the local level, where the reality of climate change, pollution of oceans and air require use to devise mechanism which can look beyond the national boundaries. This is crucial given the fact that there is limited mechanism to hold polluters accountable if the origin is not within the country. That said, I would like to draw the attention of the gathering to how India is getting the world to act on issues that are critical to fight against climate change. In 2018, India hosted the World Environment Day on the theme Beat Plastic Pollution. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, gave a global call for eliminating single-use plastic. This call of India provided the momentum leading to significant action on plastic pollution around the globe, culminating in the historic resolution and its adoption in United Nations Environment Assembly 5.2, held in Nairobi in the month of March this year. We believe this will institutionalize beat plastic pollution around the world. Another critical issue to which there is no denying is the issue of air pollution. The issue of air pollution is a particular concern, especially in Delhi NCR and other adjoining states like Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. We are conscious of the fact that air pollution management can never be geography specific. We have brought the Air Quality Management in National Capital Region and Adjoining Areas Act 2021 to establish a commission as the sole authority with jurisdiction over air quality management in the region. This act and its approach is premised upon the airshed approach of pollution management. This is because as air travels beyond territorial and political boundaries, we realize the fact that air pollution for these states can only be managed by a common air pollution management policy. But this time, we are living in the concept of liability need to be developed both national and international level. Today, environmental jurisprudence is still focused on punishing the local polluter, where the reality of climate change requires us to devise mechanism which can look beyond national boundaries. Environmental pollution and degradation are serious problem nowadays, and judiciary has played a significant role in redressal of this problem. Industrialization and preservation of environment are two conflicting interests, and their harmonization is a major challenge before the judicial system and the governance system of the country. In India, there are policies for sustainable conservation and development and management of natural resource in the form of National Forest Policy, Ecotourism Policy, National Water Policy, which is effectively implemented through various legislation. Our country has reputed world-class research institute like ICFRE, WII, Forest Survey of India, Indian Institute for Forest Management, NIRI, who happens to provide intellectual and academic support and activity involved in policy guideline, and their improvement in the time span resulting in increasing forest and tree covered land and increase the population of our species like tiger, elephant, lions, rhino, and many more. Friends, I would like to take this opportunity to reiterate India's development philosophy of development without destruction. We are working with line ministries and departments to mainstream biodiversity conservation in all sectors of economic development. We have proposed to amend our Biological Diversity Act to give more focus to the local community interest and to encourage research in the area of biodiversity so that we can achieve the objective of act more effectively. To end environmental exploitation at the level of individual, industries, and even in governance at COP26 last year in Glasgow, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji gave a mantra of life, which stands for lifestyle for environment, which should be adopted by the world to safeguard the humanity and planet. We should always remember the fact that our utilization of resources must be based on mindful and deliberate utilization, not on mindless and destructive consumption. We need to protect the environment, not just for future generation, but for present generation also. After all, this is only one planet. There is no planet B. Time has come to think collectively. Sustainable development of dynamic natural resources need dynamic thinking and dynamic approach with proper scientific support. We find many instances where to solve a particular issue of judgment have been pronounced which were not entirely in consensus with the recognized scientific practices and have much larger negative implication on the ecosystem of that area. That's the reason I'm very much agree what Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaulji says, that it's more a technical aspect where we need more discussion. I wrote a book in 2005 on Supreme Court on forest conservation, and I was a practitioner lawyer at that time. I feel that law is an art, but after becoming a forest minister, I feel forestry is a science. So there is a need that science and art will come together, then we are able to make a better world. With these words, I would like to wish you a very successful career ahead for my young friends, and thank you all for being such patient listeners. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for a very informative valedictory address and sharing with us insights into what India as a nation is doing to protect the environment. Let's have a big round of applause for the Honorable Minister once again. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we at Chandigarh University will now like to express our gratitude to our chief guests and guests of honor. May I now request Dr. R.S. Baba, Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University, to kindly come on the stage, and Justice Swatantha Kumar ji to present a memento to our honorable chief guest of this valedictory ceremony, Shri Bhupender Yadav ji. Thank you, sir. We are honored to have you with us today. And we look forward to having you again in our campus. I will now request a memento to be presented to Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Let's keep the applause going on. That was a blessing to listen to such eminent speakers today. We'd like to present a memento to Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Wilson, Judge, Supreme Court of Hawaii. Thank you for being with us. A token of gratitude, a memento being presented to Honorable Mr. Justice Augustine George Massey, Judge, High Court of Punjab and Haryana, Chandigarh. I will now like to invite His Excellency Kawaku Asoma Chereme, High Commissioner of Ghana, to kindly come forward on the stage and accept a memento from Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University, and Justice Kumar. Thank you, His Excellency, for being with us today. I will now request Dr. R.S. Bawa, Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister Shri Bhupender Yadav ji, Honorable Minister for Environment, Forest, Climate Change, Labour and Employment. Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul ji, Honorable Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Wilson, Honorable Judge Supreme Court of Hawaii, Honorable Mr. Justice Augustine George Massey, Honorable Judge High Court of Punjab and Haryana, Honorable Mr. Justice Retired Tantra Kumar ji, former Judge Supreme Court of India, former Chairman Green Tribunal, and I think equally importantly, Chairman of our Advisory Board for the University Law Institute. His Excellencies, Ambassadors, and High Commissions from Cuba, Ghana, Republic of Gambia, Costa Rica, and Uruguay. Distinguished and Honorable Lordships, Judges, Chief Justice of different High Courts, legal luminaries from different universities, Vice Chancellors, other guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great honor and privilege for me to extend a very warm vote of thanks from the core of our heart on behalf of the Honorable Chancellor and the entire Chandigarh University. Honorable Minister, we are so grateful to you for having acceded to our request to be a part of this valedictory function. But equally importantly, we must thank you and the Honorable Prime Minister for taking visionary, tangible, and result-oriented initiatives on the environmental issue and making some declarations which the whole world is following. So thank you very much, Your Honor, for being here. Thank you very much, Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul ji, for giving wonderful ideas on the environmental protection and how we can practice it. We are also thankful to Honorable Mr. Justice Michael Wilson for having shared his experiences and also making it clear that it's a shared vision which will ultimately take us forward. Honorable Mr. Justice Augustine George Massey ji, thank you very much for being a part of this valedictory function and also giving a message which also makes it's incumbent on everybody to be a part of this movement for protection of the environment. I must profusely thank Honorable Mr. Justice Tantra Kumar ji, but for whom this function would not have been possible. Sir, you are spearheading the movement within the campus and also taking the Chandigarh University Institute of Legal Studies to its new heights. Thank you very much for organizing all this. Let me also thank all those who made it possible, the media, our own colleagues who made this arrangement and making this function such a huge success. I must also repeat my thanks, heartfelt thanks to the dignitaries which attended yesterday's inaugural function and all the other sessions, including Honorable Vice President of India, the Honorable Governor of Punjab, and all other dignitaries which were present yesterday's inaugural session and all other sessions. Once again, thank you very much. We are greatly honored and privileged. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to draw curtains on this two-day international conference, which will be memorable, of course, because of your esteemed presence. We look forward to have you again in the campus. Till then, take care and have a great day, great time ahead. Jai Hind. Please rise for the national anthem. Thank you. I'll request the audience to kindly remain seated.